Had some critter up here by the house last night. I'm gonna say probably raccoon, because I can see the tracks, and it was kind of and that's kind of way the raccoon would go. Hey cats, what's happening? You know, this isn't exactly what I would call homesteading living out here, but it can be a challenge. I mean, for one, and we really haven't had any substantial snow, but you know, my driveway is 650 feet down to the road. So when we get a deep snow, then the challenge is clearing the driveway. I got a snow blower for that, and it works okay, other than the fact that sometimes it'll catch rocks and they'll get jammed up in the impellers, or they'll shear the pins. But we used to just call for a snowplow, and the problem is we have a gravel driveway. Now, to pave this or to do it in concrete would cost a mere fortune, so I'm not going to do that. And, you know, if you do asphalt too, eventually it deteriorates, and it's going to need redone at one point or another. So, yeah, it's just a money pit. Gravel, $500, I can spread a new load of gravel on the driveway and be done with it. And I do that like every few years. But if you try to plow the snow with a snow plow, I mean, these guys have just torn up my driveway. You know, the gravel gets pushed up into the grass. They come up here and they push up into the yard and they peel up the sod, and then you get a big pile of sod and gravel there to clean. It's just a big mess to clean up. So we quit using the snow plow, and we just started, using the snowblower. We bought this snowblower and we use that, and it works well for. I can make about about 3 passes up and back, and that's 6 passes, and that'll clear wide enough for the truck easily. The bigger challenge is getting up here in front of the garage, with 3 bays. It's quite a ways to throw the snow, but it works. Um, have I ever considered solar panels? I don't know. It's a big cost initially, and they say that in your lifetime you'd be lucky to recoup the cost of putting solar panels in. We have a good local, it's electric company, a co-op, and it works very well. I mean, these guys are on it. Over here I have a pole in the woods with a transformer. Well, it used to have a transformer up there, but now it goes underground from the house all the way to the road. I didn't have to pay a nickel for that. They came out and did it. They bored underground and put the transformer out at the street. But there used to be a transformer on the pole there. My meter is still on that pole. And it was a really crappy winter day. I mean, there wasn't any snow, but it was pouring down like a sleety rain, and everything was mud, soft, squishy. And that transformer blew. Boom! And it was fried. Those guys came out with a new transformer that day and put it on a dolly and dragged it through the soft, muddy grass all the way over there. Climbed up there, hoisted it up, put it on that pole. I mean, in that crappy weather, they got it done. You guys this electric company we have is awesome. It's the Lorraine Municipal Electric Co-op, and you can't beat it. I mean, they're always on it like that. So that's a perk to being out here, having good electricity. We have propane. A propane tank is over there behind the shed. It's hidden from view, but it's a 500-gallon propane tank, and it feeds the house with propane. There's no natural gas lines out here to tap into. There's no gas wells to tap into. Propane's your only option, unless you want to go with a fuel oil furnace, or or electric heat, which is expensive too. As for water, they do have city water out at the street, but it would cost me, I think, $7,000 to run city water up to the house. And then I'll have a bill, a water bill every month. I don't do that. I use the pond in the backyard. The pond pumps water up to the house. It goes through a chlorination system, which kills the bacteria. It goes through a charcoal filter, and it comes out of the tap like ice cold spring water. But anyways, as far as heat goes, we have to heat with wood. So I'm always having to replenish the wood stock here on the front porch, keep the wood burner going. So in heating with wood, we have the big buck stove. And this thing's big enough that you can really put some big honking logs in there. And it has a 2-speed blower, a little switch here. You can turn the fan up and it blows air out the top, it blows air out the sides, and it blows the air out from the bottom. So it really puts out a lot of heat, and it'll heat the whole house. And then a ceiling fan up there pushes the warm air down. Otherwise it would be 100 degrees up there in the loft, and circulates it through the whole house and keeps it warm in here in the winter. The problem is it's a lot of work, and when you use a wood burner stove, there's a lot of dust and it kind of gets everywhere. So it's always a cleanup. You always got to be on top of it, wiping, dusting the furniture, vacuuming. There's always debris, ashes that come out here and stuff, so I'm always having to sweep that up too. It's work, and not only work going out and cutting the wood and stacking it on the porch, but maintaining the fire every day. And I don't put wood in there before bed, so when I wake up in the morning, the fire, there's still coals in there. There's still hot coals, but it's blowing out cool air, and it can get down into the 50s in the house at night, or by the time I get up in the morning, sometimes it's in the 60s or 50s inside here. That heats up real quick once I get the buck stove going, and it can get up to 70 degrees in here easily with this stove. Unless it's one of those real frigid below zero days, and then I gotta keep this thing really cranking out some heat. If I'm away, if something would happen and I had to be away for an extended period of time, the furnace will kick on at 50 degrees and maintain it at 50 degrees so we don't have frozen pipes or anything. But aside from that, the gas range is propane. This was V's pride and joy. This was her Cadillac. When she was here, I was hardly even able to touch that thing. She would polish that thing and wipe it down like every day, clean the glass on the front, clean the knobs, wipe the back off, take all these grills off and clean underneath there. And if I, for some reason, had to cook something on the gas range, she would be watching me like a hawk, like, don't spill anything, don't let that boil over. But yeah, and then the other thing we use propane for would be the hot water in the basement, the hot water tank. Then one of the drawbacks to our hot water is when you try to run hot water on the sink here, it takes almost a full minute of running water before you can start to feel hot water, just because of the way that the line runs in the basement. And it's cold down in the basement. There's no heat down there, obviously. So it's probably in the upper 30s, 40 degrees in the basement all the time in the winter. In the summer, it's probably 55, 60 in the basement, so it's always cooler in the basement. Now, one of the other drawbacks I have to being out here is our internet service. And the only option that we have, it's called a DSL cable. So the internet comes through the phone line. When I built this house, I think one of the biggest errors I made was that I put a phone jack right there between the bathroom and the kitchen. Now, this phone isn't, this is just an old phone that's not even hooked up. It's just like an antique, just for looks. So our landline phone was right there. And, you know, we had the cordless phone. We no longer use that. We don't use that at all. In fact, it's disconnected because there's no use for it. We have cell phones now. But I have to use this jack here for my DSL that hooks to the modem. The modem is up there in the loft, in the far end of the loft. So the phone line that ran from there all the way up to the computer was this old, you know, flat telephone cable. Anyway, I've had the internet service guy out, the tech guy out, a couple years ago, numerous times actually, to complain about our internet service. I said, man, our internet service is so slow, and you try to watch something streaming and it just keeps like spinning and spinning and spinning. And then, being that I have this YouTube video channel, I have to upload videos. The last video that I uploaded took 10 hours to upload. I started the upload before I went to bed, and when I got up in the morning, it was still uploading. And when that's uploading, you know, you can't do anything else. You can't do anything on the computer or anything, because it sucks up all of the internet just trying to get that upload up there. Well, anyway, the tech guy had told me at least a year or two ago that I had to upgrade this flat cable for this newer, it's called a Cat 5e, and you'll see, you know, it's like a round, heavier cable. So yesterday I finally took the task of switching those out, which was no easy job because, you know, that cable has to run up and be hidden in the beam to get over to my computer where I do my uploading, my editing, and everything else. So, boy, what a pain in the neck it was. I mean, it took me a couple hours to fish all this old wire out, and then to get the new cable in and run it. Obviously, I couldn't get it up through the walls, and when you got a log house, you can't run electricity, you know, through the log walls. So I had to run it up through the wall here, and then it runs up here onto this beam, and then it follows this beam all the way to the other wall, where it runs over to the computer. It was a huge project. It took me a couple hours, but I got it hooked up. Now, before I removed this one, though, I did a speed test. I don't know if you've ever done a speed test on your internet. It's pretty simple. I'll give you a little demonstration here. There's a website you can go to. It's called Ookla, Ookla. It's free. But you go on and this screen pops up, and then you just click on the go, and it will do a speed test. It'll do your upload speeds and your download speeds. So right now it's checking the download speed, and it'll tell me here in a minute what that speed is, and it shows that it's 5.30. That's way better than it used to be. Now we're doing uploads, which has been very slow for me, and if I can get over 50 or 0.52, I'll be happy. Oh, I got 0.54, so that's way better than it was before, because I couldn't get over 2 or 3 on my downloads, and my uploads were like 0.10 or 0.2. You know, they definitely weren't 0.54, so I'm looking real good on that. But before I did that, I tested it on my old cable first, and it came up really slow. And then before I removed the old cable, I took the new cable. I plugged it into my modem and just threw it over the handrail there downstairs. Plugged it into the phone jack, and then I ran this test, and I was surprised how much better it came out. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. So some of the drawbacks to living out here in the country. You know, I mean, as far as the DSL connection goes, we're at the end of the line, they tell me, and it's kind of like a water tap. As all the other people use the DSL internet service, at the end of the line, you get what's left over, so it's a weaker pull. But the tech guy was right. He said if you replace that cable with this Cat 5e cable, it should improve your uploads and your download speeds, and it did. So why I didn't do that years ago, I don't know. I just procrastinate on it. But now that I have all the time in the world, now that I'm a widower by myself, I'm able to get all these projects done that have been lapsing for a long time. What's my next project? I don't know. I need to stay busy, though. I need to find things to do, that's for sure. Well, it's a lovely day. The sun's trying to come out, and you know, it'll melt. I mean, look at the snow's already starting to melt off the sidewalk. You can't even see the critter tracks there anymore. So yeah, it'll warm up today. It should get almost up to 40, so we should see some of this thawing. And I'm sure we'll get a lot more snow because we're coming right up on February here next week. Well, thanks for watching. As usual, you know, I always ask you if you like my video to hit that thumbs up button. And the other thing I always request is, if you haven't yet, to please subscribe to my channel and join us on this ride. We do talk about just about anything, but today I just wanted to talk about some of the hardships of, you know, the sacrifices you make for living out here in the country. But there's a lot of perks to it too. I mean, look at this beautiful property, and we've got nothing but farm over here. The neighbors, you can't even see them across the street there, and everything behind the house is all woods, like a couple 100 acres of woods, and there's nothing but woods here to the north of us. So it's a good life back here. You know, I'm not going to give it up anytime soon. You know, some people say, well, downsize, sell the property, sell the house, and get a smaller place, you know, less maintenance, you have more time to do stuff. Yeah, well, this is what I like to do. You know, I like to maintain this property. I like having my shop, my garage. I like having my home, and it just gives me a purpose in life, you know. If I was living in a little condo somewhere right now, not being able to get on the bike or anything, I'd probably just sit there and die. I wouldn't have anything to do. At least here I got plenty to keep me busy. Well, thanks for joining me, cats. Until next time, I will catch you all later.